Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1310-1310, and I'm Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, at the last place on earth. And today, Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer. It's Wednesday! What? Oh, it feels like Monday was 30,000 years ago, but
Mike's Daily Podcast.
am trying to get through Wednesday, rubbing my eyeball, and it just popped out. Hey!
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Put that back in. No, I was kidding. It's sort of theater of the mind is what I'm saying. And now you and I are gonna do some playing in the world of news and life. I walked with somebody yesterday, and it was nice. I walked with Diane, and we had a fun conversation. She
Mike's Daily Podcast
has a lab who's about 10 years old, named Buddy. 12, I think. And Buddy is
Mike's
the cutest big,
Daily
just a big bear.
Podcast.
And Buddy and Basil
Yeah!
are buds. And they were walking along together. Buddy has a little bit of an issue with the back legs. Not hip dysplasia, just the joints are kind of stiff. So, but he gets up and down the little hills and looked like he was having fun. So, Diane's a great gal. She's a gal pal. Wait, huh? Look who just walked in.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I went on a date with Bob.
You went on a date with Bob?
Yeah, Mike Matthews. Me and Bob.
What did you go see? Did you see? Wait, you saw that last? Any other movies?
No, we went and had pho.
You and Bob had pho?
Yeah, Mike Matthews. Why are you repeating everything I say?
Who else just walked in? Oh, Mike, it's Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, pho is a delicious, soupy, brothy deliciousness with food. They cram as much stuff in a bowl. Delicious. Cramming stuff in a bowl. Oh, that sounds good. Do you know Roger Ebert, the late Roger Ebert, he wrote a cookbook towards the end of his life. You know, he was the one he was a movie critic. He rated many a movie. Luckily, he didn't have to rate the remake of Beauty and the Beast. I don't think he would have liked it.
And here's today's podcast picture.
I'm glad he didn't have to see it. Or maybe he watched it in heaven, I don't know. But he wrote a book about how you can make all the stuff that you can make in that would fit in a bowl. Bowl food. Yeah, I don't know why I know that piece of information. There is a documentary on Netflix about him that I've been meaning to watch. The one thing I have been watching a lot of, and the podcast picture has nothing to do with this, is this Castles of England. The Great Castles of England is what it is called. And it is quite an interesting show. It has a historian on it who's young, wears a leather jacket. When he takes his leather jacket off and he's got his short sleeve shirt, you see he's got 1 million tattoos. He's all tatted up. He's not a historian, he's a hipstorian. And he is... I can't believe... You know, he gets so into the violence in British history. There's so much violence. People just getting executed in the most horrific ways. The drawn and quartered thing, no thanks. And one woman who was not going to admit or deny that she had sheltered some Catholic priests in her house, and Catholics were verboten because of, was it Henry VIII, who said no, Catholicism is banned in England. And so they took her, they were going to put her on trial, and she neither admitted or denied the charges, and that they said, okay, we're going to press you. Was she impressed? No, she was pressed. This is like in 1000 AD, somewhere in that general vicinity. They took 700 pounds of weights that basically crushed her. they somehow saved her hand. And her hand, it looked like, they didn't say exactly, it looked like it may have been preserved in resin. And it was in this bell jar. And they brought it out. The historian brought it out and showed it to this hip-storian. And there was a hand, the hand of this woman. Partly because she was considered a martyr at the time for Catholics. So, that was interesting. He brings out these interesting sort of Ripley's Believe It or Not type things. Ripley's Believe It or Not, if you ever go to one of those, don't eat beforehand. You're going to see things like that, preserved human relics that, well, it's kind of weird. It's very weird. There's no kinda about it, my friend. The podcast picture is of the lovely Bay Farm Island, or Harbor Bay Isle, which I go there often. I need to go back there again now that the weather is so nice. But this was a picture I took somewhere last year of a sunset, and the water is boiling. They have these little canals that the houses are on, and the water comes up through these vents, and it looks like their little water system is boiling. It's just bizarre. So see that picture at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, or don't. But go to MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com as well to help out the show. We got a link to Amazon. You can click on that and buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and we get something from that. And there's the PayPal, too. Become an Inglorious Mike's Daily Podcaster. And you can listen to past interviews that I've done. And I've started alphabetizing. How far have I gotten? Well, I'm building up the A's. So far, I've got Ages and Ages and Alex Facella. Alex Facella is a comedian who works on the Modern Day Philosophers podcast. Got to interview him. Also interviewed the great band Ages and Ages, that I believe someday will have an enormous hit. They're already pretty well known in the indie rock world. They're kind of a Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros or Strumbellas or Lumineers type band. But they have like a lot of members. I guess that's more Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros-ish. I've interviewed a lot of bands that had a lot of members. It was sort of a thing back 2-3 years ago. People were really into, let's do like a commune band. Now I think it's time to go and do this wonderful segment that we call Fair and Unbalanced.
Fair and Unbalanced.
First off, I was watching C-SPAN this morning, and the lovely Greta was on, and she was interviewing Representative Louis Gohmert of Texas. And Louis is part of the Freedom Caucus. And I want to conk him on the head because he is... I don't get his reasoning of being an obstructionist to everything. Everything. In fact, Greta read I guess a good friend of Louis Gohmert, some other politician, wrote some scathing article about how Louis is an obstructionist. And Louis said, well, thank you, Greta, for reading that article in detail. He seemed a bit miffed, but by the end of the interview, they made up. But he deserves it. But a lot of people called in to C-SPAN. I'm behind Louis Gohmert 100%. Trump is wrong. His healthcare thing was wrong. And one guy called up and said, Greta, you're like not doing your job right. And I wanted to jump through the TV and tackle that caller. You don't attack my Greta like that. How dare you? Is it Greta Hausman? What the hell's her last name? They never show it on C-SPAN. But what I did find out a little bit about was about this internet privacy regulation being overturned. The House of Representatives has gone along with the Senate and voted 215 to 205 to overturn a yet-to-take effect regulation. So this regulation hasn't even happened yet. But it would have required internet service providers like Comcast, Verizon, and Charter, who I hate Comcast with a passion, to get consumers permission before selling their data. So they would be so I think, you know what? They need my permission. Now, some people on the Republican side were saying, you know what? Google already gets your information, Bing gets your information already, and nobody regulates them. It is a victory for ISPs, internet service providers, which have argued that the regulation would put them at a disadvantage compared with so-called edge providers like Google and Facebook. Those companies are regulated by the Federal Trade Commission and face less stringent requirements. FCC versus FTC. Congress approval is a loss for privacy advocates who fought for the regulation passed in October of last year by a then Democratic majority on the Federal Commission's Communications Commission on the FCC. ISPs, FCC, FTC. Yes, this article gets a little bit confusing to follow, but the internet service providers collect huge amounts of data on their websites that people visit, including medical, financial, and other personal information. The FCC regulation would have required ISPs to ask permission before selling that information to advertisers and others. So basically, Comcast is going to make even more money off of you. Are they going to maybe cut the amount they charge you just to have internet? Because I don't want TV. I just want the internet. They still charge me a bunch. They should bring that down, because now you're making money off me. And I don't need to pay you, basically. That's how I feel about that. Now, on to TLC. They're bringing back trading spaces. Why do I bring this up? Because when I was married, I spent a great deal of the first years of my marriage watching trading spaces. Back when I had TV, that was basically all we watched, was TLC and Trading Spaces. Oh, how many commercials I saw for Home Depot. TLC unveiled its plan to revive the show at the Discovery Communications upfront presentation in New York, where the company unveiled a slew of new programs. Discovery Communications CEO David Zaslav gave a shout-out in his opening remarks to TLC for its growth spurt during the past year. Paige Davis is coming back with her little flip hairdo. Remember her? God, she was so cute. Her and Greta. I want them to come out with a calendar that I would put on my wall, and every day I'd look up and I'd be like, oh, I'm in love with Paige and Greta. And then they'd lock me away because I have no privacy anymore, and everyone would know that. And then I'd be in jail. Oh, wait, I do a podcast where I talk about it anyway. Never mind. It's okay to have idols that you look up to. And I someday want to be a Paige Davis or a Greta. I feel a little uncomfortable now, don't you? Well, there's no more information about Trading Spaces because this article wants to tell me all about their fat pet show, which I don't want to talk about. So I would like to tell you, though, back to history in London and whatnot. A little history was made today, as you know, a little over 9 months ago after British voters chose to withdraw from the European Union. Britain took a decisive and likely irreversible step today toward leaving a partnership that has bound the country to the continent for nearly half a century. With a single handoff of a letter to Brussels in the early afternoon, the British government became the first country to ever trigger Article 50, the mechanism by which nations can exit the European Union. Oh, others have gotten close. Greece, for example. But now England has gone and done it. Gone and done it. I think I fell in love. Shania Twain song. The move instantly plunged both Britain and the other 27 other EU nations into 2 years of what will almost certainly be messy and acrimonious negotiations over the terms of divorce. Talks will encompass a dizzying array of subjects, including trade terms, immigration rules, financial regulations, money. Tony Blair, I heard an interview with him, and he said, I don't think it'll actually come to it because we'll actually get so close, and then people will see the ramifications, and then they'll want to end to negotiations. Well, it's moving along, Tony. And they're great. Britain joined the group that became the European Union in 1973. So it's been decades of ties. Yes, it's gone back quite a ways. So that's quite a long marriage, my friend. And Britain could be forced to reorient its economy. It is the world's 5th largest economy if it loses favorable terms with its biggest trade partner. It also may not survive the departure in one piece, with Scotland threatening to bolt. We're done with you. Get out. You're welcome. That's my Scottish accent. And ending on some sad news. I know when I lived in Alabama and you would hear about a tornado forming, you'd want to go and check it out because you were stupid. And you were like, I want to see this thing happen. And then when you bought property, you were like, I don't want to see this thing happen because that tornado could knock down my house. I don't like tornadoes. Well, storms that bore down on southern plains states brought powerful winds that upended a tractor trailer on an Oklahoma interstate, and it killed the driver, while 3 storm chasers died in a collision as they raced toward a tornado-warned storm in West Texas. The storms that struck Texas and Oklahoma late yesterday brought tornadoes, tennis ball-sized hail, and powerful winds, but no widespread damage was reported. It's just the beginning of what's expected to be a stormy week in Tornado Alley and in parts of the South. Unfortunately, that means my recent home, or previous home before I moved to the Bay Area, Huntsville, Alabama. We wish them all the best. In Texas, the 3 storm chasers, including 2 who were contractors for the Weather Channel, were killed in a collision at a remote intersection near the town of Spur, about 55 miles southeast of Lubbock. The channel said in a statement that Kelly Williamson and Randy Yarnall were beloved members of the weather community who had worked as contractors for the channel. The Texas Department of Public Safety said the 2 died Tuesday along with another storm chaser, 25-year-old Corbin Lee Yeager of Peoria, Arizona. The Department of Public Safety Sergeant John Gonzalez said a Chevrolet Suburban driver by Williamson ran a stop sign and slammed into the Jeep driven by Yarnall with Yeager as passenger, killing all 3 instantly. Tornadoes have been reported nearby at the time of the crash. Yeah, it just gets confusing. You can just imagine. You've seen video of it. There's so much on the internet now of when there's a storm and just the chaos and confusion. And something like that, unfortunately, can happen. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Well, just wanted to tell you that I guess I'm happy Trading Spaces is coming back. Am I going to watch it? No. Maybe if it eventually makes it to Netflix, where I seem to watch everything. And that's about it. Go walk a dog with someone today. That's my advice to you. It's fun. You chat with the person. Say you both have dogs. Talk about dogs. Talk about things. That's what life's about, isn't it? Talking about things. About crushes you have on not so well known TV stars like Greta and Paige. All right, let's turn the page and end the show.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!